What's up, everybody, and welcome to another Seven Figure Photographer Live. It's Monday. It feels like it's been forever. We have, I think, an exciting live for you guys today. We have a special guest. Everybody say hi to Josh Petersen. We got Mia's feet in the background.
Just my feet?
You look like you're giving birth on the left side.
Okay, why did we have to go there?
Well, if you see, just wait till you see the video.
Well, if you put the video up, you still haven't put the video up. You're still laughing.
No, it's coming. Oh,
it's
apparently
not.
I didn't. It's been a while, so we're still not used to all
dear
this. But
heavens.
anyway,
Okay, fine,
welcome,
whatever.
Josh.
I am
We're
out of
changing
focus.
that up.
You're out of focus. It shouldn't be.
He is totally out of focus.
Yeah, let's fix that. Why is it not working?
It's used to me, so it's focused on my feet for some reason.
Yeah. Okay, hold on, guys. We gotta.
Click it off auto on the actual lens. Go to auto.
Is the lens set
Instead
to
of
manual?
manual.
Focus. Sorry, guys. A few technical difficulties here. Now you look like you're in focus. Okay. There we go. Now we have Josh Petersen here and Mia in the background. Much better angle of your feet and legs. Mia. We actually have Mia also on mic, so Mia will be here answering any questions you guys have from the chat, so please make sure to do that. And like I said, we have an exciting thing today. We're going to talk a little bit about the business book of the month, what's coming, and we're going to do hot seat with Josh and talk a little bit about his business and the things that work well for him and just some of the things that we've done. What are you laughing about? Oh, because we still
totally
have Josh on there.
He's just staring at you.
I was just telling Josh how good this thing works, and now, as you can see,
User error.
we just F everything up. Okay, so anyway, before we jump into that, let's do what you guys haven't had forever, an introduction. What's up, guys? For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sam Marvin, and I have been in the photography industry for 25 plus years. While I love being a creative, business is my passion, and elevating the industry of photography is my focus. I created the Seven Figure Photographer to share my journey to seven figures and to help others find their way too.
That's amazing.
All right, so again, welcome back. I guess welcome back to me. We haven't been live for has it been 3 weeks?
It's been a bit,
I think
yeah.
because we had 4th of July. The other time
Well, we were in Tahoe.
So it's been a while. And I felt really bad last week. I was totally planning to go on and just do a quick little live from my phone, and then the day got away from me, and it just was crazy. So, but we're really excited about today, excited to be here. What's up, Tim Goats? My wife, Michelle, is on here. Anybody else that's on here hanging out with us, please chime in, say hi, tell us where you're watching from. It's always good to see everybody here. We got Thompson Photography and Design, Darren in the house. Welcome, Darren. So Josh, let me tell you a little bit about Josh. What I can, hopefully I don't butcher anything. So Josh is actually he's a really unique individual, a unique situation. Surprisingly, we live in the same state. We're here just 4 hours apart. He lives on the other side of the eastern side of the state in Idaho Falls. And one of the unique things about Josh is that he took over a pretty successful studio, which is, we're going to talk about that. I think probably the crazy, if you would have called me, I would have been like, if you would have called me back then, now, I would have been like, dude, run. Just run far, far away from that. But we're going to talk about that today. And it's really funny that Josh and I actually met at Sync in Florida. So that was kind of an interesting thing. When we first met, we were just kind of hanging out with a bunch of people around the pool and the hot tub and stuff. And he was like, wait, you're from Idaho? And so that was just kind of a unique thing that we had to go clear to Florida to meet each other. Is he a little quiet?
Is that better? Check one.
Check one.
There we go. Okay.
So,
sorry.
Before we jump into all that, I do want to talk a little bit about the business book of the month. Josh, have you ever had a chance to read this book?
I have not.
How to Tell a Story. Okay. it was a good choice.
It's a good choice.
I actually really liked the book, but I'm afraid anybody that read it was probably like, Sam, what the hell were you thinking?
Yes.
It was definitely a different book. I expected it to be something different than it was. I got a lot out of it. We listened to it going down to Tahoe, and it's a relatively easy book. But have you ever even heard of the Moth? The Moth. It's like a storytelling circuit.
No.
Like you know how photographers, we get together for conventions and stuff, and we talk about all this business stuff. Well, the Moth is like this. All these storytellers come together for a convention. It's like 1,000 people, and they get together and they tell stories, and they have like these parameters for how they tell these stories. But I think that it's really like the bit that I got from it was that it's really powerful to understand like some of the concepts of how story really resonates with people, that kind of stuff. So again, it was a little out of the norm, but I think the storytelling is one of the things, especially in our business, that really sells well. I've learned that when I share story and I make it about the story, we actually have higher sales. We have better relationships with our people that way. And so that's kind of why I went there with that book. Now, I have not yet decided for sure. I have a couple days before the middle of the month. I'm still ahead of time, right?
Yeah.
And we got a couple of books that are on the docket for the next couple months. So we're probably going to make both of these the next 2 business books of the month. I'm just not sure which one I want to do first. This one came on, what's the word? Recommendation from Brian, of course.
Tannehill?
What?
Tannehill?
No, not Brian Tannehill. I never forget Brian's name. He's the Brian Welsh from
Walsh? Something like
it's
that.
Welsh
He was cool.
from PPA. And when I went on to buy this book, I saw this title and I was like, I need that one too. So I bought them both. Josh actually just gave us a couple of recommendations this morning that I'm probably going to go on and read, and those may be upcoming business books of the month as well. Now, funny story with Josh. I actually, when we first met, one of my favorite books, obviously, is Mike McCallow's Profit First. And when we first met, that was one of the things that I had actually mentioned to Josh. And go ahead and tell your story about that and what it did for you.
Yeah, so you had recommended that. I'd heard about it a few times over the years, and for whatever reason, after that trip, that really gave me the impetus to really kind of get serious about it. And you know, I left sync. I put it on my Audible and listened to it on the way home, and really kind of blew my mind a little bit. And my wife and I had done Dave Ramsey's like Financial Peace University a few years ago. And so that was like Financial Peace University, but from a business standpoint, and it made it in such a simplified way, took business finance and just made it into such an easy, digestible method that is just extremely effective. And I really attribute that book to really kind of turning a lot of things around as far as my business goes a couple years ago. And I recommend every photographer read that book and implement the strategies, as hard as that may be, but you have to do it. And once you get the ball rolling, it'll change the way you run your business and you'll be a lot more successful.
Yeah. And honestly, this morning at breakfast, we were sitting there talking, and like Josh called me and said, "Hey, I'm coming down to do some work." He came to do some work in my territory. Jesus. But we were talking this morning, and I looked over at Mia and I said, "Shoot, I got to do a live today. What should we do for a live?" And she was like, "Well, why don't we have Josh on?" I was like, "Duh." This is just as bad as me in introducing people. Like, I just don't think those things through. But you know, one of the things that we were talking about at breakfast is how you're just kind of like in a spot in your business where you're comfortable enough letting it just kind of roll with what's going on. And I think that a lot of that has to do with that comfort that when you can create financial stability in your business for the first time, especially for photographers. And one of the great things about that book is it does fit into our world so well. I've had so many books out there that I've read, and I'm like, man, I wish that they just had like I wish I could talk to the author and say, how would this work in my unique business as a photographer?
Absolutely.
And so, but yeah, so that was a great thing. And I think that probably does have a lot to do with how you're feeling right now in your business, where you're just like, I'm in a good place, got money in the bank, I'm not feeling the stress, and I can just kind of do whatever I want with it. And that's kind of like the goal in business. But I think some of us just get too forward focused on just constant growth.
Sure.
And we stress about that. But anyway, so that's what's coming up. One of these is going to be the business book of the month. If you guys have a suggestion, like which one would you like to see for next month, either Essentialism or So Good They Can't Ignore You, please comment in there, and maybe Mia will actually make a poll which one you think you should be for the next month. So other than that, I'm excited to talk to Josh today with all of you guys. Obviously, we've gotten a chance to talk. We got to hang out last night, went to a great dinner, and just got to hang out on the porch, talk. And surprisingly, we didn't talk that much about business.
No.
It was kind of just
it was
like
nice.
It was it was nice. So, which is sad for me. I always want to talk about business. But and then we had a nice breakfast this morning. But some of the things that and one of the biggest things that I wanted to talk about today is because you do have a really unique worldview of our industry. Like I said, Josh took over a pretty successful studio. Many people know the photographer that he started working with and the studio that he took over. And that's I would tell anybody, don't ever do that. Joy Verts actually, do you remember Joy Verts? Did you ever meet?
Yeah.
So Joy Verts actually sold her studio, or her two studios, I think it was both studios years ago, to another photographer.
Oh,
and
really?
She had spent so much time just getting it dialed in. Now, I think that Joy and Travis were in different worlds, like for what they were trying to do. Joy wanted to do something different that had a different thing. I kind of get the feeling, and maybe I'm wrong, that Travis was just done with photography and ready to move on to something new. And I imagine I think we all kind of go through those real big challenges, or times where we just feel that tumultuous,
Sure.
that thing. So what are some of the greatest lessons that you've learned from all this?
I feel like I could write a book, really,
Probably
about
could.
all the things not to do as far as having a photography business. Man, right off the bat, it was, we all had the best intentions from the get-go, and really we felt like it was a good thing at the time, and I had some pretty big shoes to step into, and I did the very best that I could, given the situation and the circumstances, to fill those shoes, and I. Ultimately, what it was is me trying to be somebody that I wasn't. It was me trying to step into a role that I really probably wasn't a good fit for me, and eventually that just got to a point where it just didn't work. Yeah. So I essentially had to rebuild from knock the whole building down and rebuild the foundation, and start from scratch. But I was able to have a lot of those lessons along the way. So anything specifically that you want me to kind of chat about?
No, I think it's just really interesting because like I said, to me, that's I just see that as being I feel like today, if I were to say I'm ready to sell my business, I have a successful business, and I feel like it would be a viable option for somebody. However, I really truly feel that if I tried to sell this business to anybody, I know that they would fail at it.
Sure.
Does that make sense? And maybe that's completely wrong. And so I give you mad props because I think that what you've done, because obviously we've talked and I've seen how you kind of went from the high and dropped down and had to figure it out to bring it back up. And you were really just under trial by fire. You didn't have a whole lot of
100%.
option.
Yeah.
Because with us as I'm going to call it a normal photographer, we we develop new expenses based on like, oh, I need that in my life, or I need that program. And so all of a sudden we start adding more and more expenses and stuff to our business. You jumped in and had those expenses,
Right.
and then had to make it work, and then had to basically just kind of like ride the wave, honestly. So I don't know that there's anything specific. What's like one thing that you would?
Well, one thing that I would say about it, it's a lot like we as photographers, a lot of the reason why people come to us and why people are drawn and attracted to us is because of our personal style and who we are as people and our vibe and just kind of the energy that we kind of put off. And I think it's important to double down on your own energy and not try to do things like somebody else, and be able to just be yourself. And I think ultimately that's the most important thing that we can do. And people are going to be drawn to you, and you're going to have clients that are a good fit. You're going to have clients that are a bad fit. I have people all the time that I pre-qualify them on the phone, and if I can sense that this is not my client, I'm not afraid to say, you know what, I don't think that what you're wanting is a good fit for me.
Yeah.
Here's the number for somebody who I think would be a great fit for you based on what you're telling me.
And I think going off that, that is so powerful in so many ways. I actually, one of my coaching clients, that's what we were talking about this weekend. We were having a talk, and she kept saying, basically going back to that same thing. Well, what about the people that I have already that are going to be like, I can't pay that for photos? And that's probably one of the hardest challenges in our business, is to be able to say, you know what, it just doesn't align with what I want for myself. A quick plug for the book.
Pumpkin Plan.
No, not Pumpkin Plan. Frick, I can't even think. I have it right in my head. And The Big Leap. Finding your. Are you going to write that one down?
No, I just moving my arm.
So The Big Leap is finding your zone of genius and recognizing that when you spend time with people that you know aren't a good fit, it drains everything from you, and then you're kind of only subpar for the rest of the people that really
100%.
are the right fit. So being able to do that, I think, is just a really strong thing in business when you can know. And I do it pretty well, but I even still struggle to this day to where I'm like, man, I even told Mia that we should have fired this client or not gone through with it, but then I went through with it. Normally it works out all right, but those are the things that just really drain us. So
For sure.
what would you say is your favorite thing about your business? What?
My favorite thing about my business would be the freedom that I have. I have 100% freedom. I can work when I want, leave when I want, essentially travel when I want. And for me and my financial or my family situation, we need that right now. My wife works her freaking tail off, and so to be able to run the kids to school or pick them up from school or take stuff to them, take them to appointments, orthodontists, that kind of thing. For me, that's the most important thing, is flexibility and freedom with my schedule. And it's just nice to have that.
Yeah, that's definitely nice. And until you overdo it, you said yesterday that it was nice to be in a position where you didn't feel like you were just running yourself ragged or spreading yourself too thin. I have to point out, Tim Goetz says, can we talk about how Josh traumatized me by convincing me to jump into a freezing ice cold pool at Sink 2 years ago and wouldn't let me get I feel you, because I was right there
I
with
made
you.
Sam do it too. I make everybody do it.
Then I was telling him this year when we were in the hot tub, there was a couple of drunk kids, and one was a high school girl, and she was out of it. And I did the same thing. I was like, okay, let's go jump in the cold pool. And Gina says, hey guys, Gina Golden's on.
Oh, nice.
Hey Gina. Craig Lee, what's up? Okay, so let's talk, what's something that you do in your business that you have found to be just like one of your, not so much one of your strengths, but what's one thing that you do that works and you don't want to ever change it? I know I'm putting you on the spot.
No, you're good. I think the biggest thing for me is I try really, really hard to genuinely care about my clients, and especially with seniors, I've noticed over the years that it's getting a little harder and harder to kind of connect with them. I don't know if you guys have kind of felt that way too.
I do. Is that the age gap, or is that just...
That's a really good question, and I kind of feel that it's a little bit of an age gap thing, and it's like, okay, I'm finally starting to get to the point where I feel kind of like a dad, you know what I mean? Like
now you have the new dad car?
Exactly, yeah, I got the dad wagon.
I think it's worse for you guys, though, because you're male. I do think there's a factor to that.
Yeah,
I agree.
And but yeah, I mean, that is something that I've thought a lot about lately, and what is our age difference here?
I just turned 36.
Oh shoot,
Oh,
I'm
dude.
a lot older than you. Okay, well then it's really bad for me. But I have thought about that. Like, I have to wonder, okay, how much of it is just because we have seen a huge shift in like communication.
For sure.
And it was like a drastic shift. So I don't think that it's all age gap, because I do think that I think that that's one of the hardest things for photographers to do. If you have a personality like yours and mine, it's really easy to, like, once people kind of break through that little bit of wall.
And you're in person.
Yeah, in person. But there is that whole concept of, okay, I don't want to reach out to this person randomly on social media. I don't want to. I don't even want to reply to this person randomly on, like, those kinds of things. And of course, the male aspect of it is harder. I think that I think there's really a lot of give and take for both us men and women. I'm talking the whole time and I don't even have myself up. Both us men and women. Women have challenges with other things, especially like having family to tend to and
Sure.
those different things. Men have a different challenge because we're men dealing with young women. And the boy side of things, like, boys don't even care to have anything to do with any of this. They just use mom for, like, mom just does it. So,
Yeah.
But what have you found, or do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, so I was just gonna say, so the biggest thing I do with my seniors is just, you know, genuinely try to, like, engage in conversation with them, get them talking about their likes, how their year's going with school, you know, get them to talk about themselves, and just, you know, find ways to find some common ground, and especially with boys, like you said, boys are usually like, your mom's dragging them by the hair to the photo shoot, and you know, 99% of the time when I get done with a male senior, they'll shake my hand and say, you know, that wasn't so bad, like, thank you, like,
that was fun.
and so you gotta engage with them, you gotta talk to them about their lives, what's going on with them, you know, their interest, you know, those kinds of things, and I think that really can make a big difference.
Yeah. So would you say you have any tips or tricks on how, because, I mean, we have our sessions where it's just an absolute blast with some people, and then we have some sessions like the other day where it was just like,
It's
we
dead.
just need to get through this.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're not talking, and they don't, like, what's your secret? What do you do to get kids to engage with you?
Literally just ask them questions, and in between, as we're walking from spot to spot, ask them, you know, what their favorite subject is, and then that'll kind of lead me down the next path. Okay, like, they're into art, like, okay, what kind of art do you like, or are you into math, do you play an instrument? A lot of my seniors, if they're playing an instrument, they'll you know, have been playing an instrument for many years, and I'll always say something like, so you don't suck at that, right? Like,
Sounds familiar.
and just make, like, little jokes like that can, and then, and for kind of what I'm known for in my area too is posing, and especially, like, I can pose like a girl, like, and I'm not ashamed to say that. Like, I found it very beneficial to be able to put my client or my senior girl, you know, where she needs to be, and then me do the pose, and then just tell her to mirror me, and I'll just kind of do it. And
See, you need a Mia to put it up on social media every time you do it.
yeah, exactly.
And you'll quickly not
I've
do
had
it as
moms
much.
do that before. It's embarrassing, but also, like, you know, like, I want to show them exactly what to do so they don't have to think about it, and it just makes it a lot easier. And so one of the things I'll say, like, and you guys can steal this all you want, because it gets a giggle every time, is when I'm posing like a girl, and I'll say, okay, now you do it. It'll be a lot cuter if you do it.
Yeah, that's pretty much right.
Yeah, exactly. So
That's
I
pretty
mean,
much what I say. Oftentimes we'll do a who did it better. Like, I'm sure you've probably seen on my social
Yeah,
media,
yeah.
I'll have a cute girl doing a pose, and I'm like doing the same thing, and like, who did it better? And I typically win those. I'm just kidding.
No, you never win.
You're right, I never win. So, do you have like any specific like go-to questions every single time?
I just ask them about what's going on with them in school, and like if it's in the summertime, I'll ask them. You know, if it's the beginning of summer, I'll ask them. You know, what are your plans for the summer? Does you and your family have any big plans? It's the end of summer, start of the school year. Then I'll say, what did you do? What did you do this summer that was fun? And I'll also ask like leading questions like, what was the best part about it? You know, questions that are not that don't give you a yes or no answer. I want them to talk, and I want them to talk about themselves.
One question that I've shared this a lot, I always ask girls how many boyfriends do they have, like just to be funny.
Yeah.
Well, last year, I think it was last year, it backfired on me. And 2 days in a row, girls were like, I don't date boys, I date girls. And I was like, shit, what am I going to do? Like, I can't do that anymore. And so now I always ask celebrity crush, who's your celebrity crush?
There you go.
And if it's a guy or a girl, I'm like, okay, well, how many boyfriends or girlfriends do you have? I'm like, I think I'm safe there. So.
I haven't had that one yet, so I'm glad that I just heard that because now I can be
His
mentally
face
That
prepared.
one threw me for a loop. I was like, I don't even know how to respond, like
just
react
sitting
to
there
it. I'm like,
driving.
be sensitive, like don't be weird or
Yeah.
like. But yeah, that like, that just threw me for a loop. I was like, oh crap, what do I do?
Yeah.
So that's been a fun one. But what's the weirdest thing that's ever happened to you on a shoot?
Oh man, I don't know. The weirdest thing
Yeah, weirdest thing.
with a senior.
Well, just any shoot.
Any shoot. I was shooting a wedding once, and these two ladies like looked at me and like saw that I was taking pictures, and they both turned to each other and like went in for like this really slow, dramatic kiss. It was like two like middle-aged women,
Yeah.
and I was just like,
You're like,
and then they both started laughing, and I was like,
do.
oh my goodness, yeah, I did not know what was going on, and they were just messing with me, but
Well, that's
I guess that was weird, but yeah.
So what do you think is like? Do you have any go-to for as far as like you're working with families and stuff that like you do similar or different with seniors?
So with my families, one of the I really specialize in working with families in especially large families. Where we're at, there's a lot of large families.
Yeah.
And large families as a photographer can be a really daunting experience, and it can be a lot of work. I absolutely love it. I love the challenge of it. I used to be so bad at it, and I used to be absolutely terrified. I would turn down family portraits all day long because I was just so scared of it. And then one day I said, you know what? Like I need to take this weakness and turn it into a strength. So I really spent a lot of time and energy in learning posing and trying to get better. I've got one of my little hacks that is actually quite brilliant. I think I get to have a little dog squeaky toy, and it's super loud. It's a super loud squeaky toy. So working with little kids, getting set up and then having that squeaker gets them looking and paying attention. But learning their names. Usually, I'll have a list of the ages and the names of the family beforehand. So when I get there, I've already got the names kind of in my head. But if I don't have that, I will go through and shake hands with everybody, and then give them eye contact, and then learn their names. And then throughout the photo shoot, I will use their names over and over and over. I'll say, okay, Samantha, turn your arm this way. Okay, John, turn this way. And by the end of it, you know everybody's names. You say bye to them, and then I do my best as when we come back to the sales room. And we're viewing the images, and I can still name those people and name their okay. What do you think of Samantha in this one? Do you like Samantha in this one or this one? And for me, I think that just creates a much stronger bond and rapport with my clients, because they're going, oh, he actually gives a crap that like he took the time and the energy to learn everybody's names, and and the way I work with children as well too is I know that it's like the most stressful thing for moms and dads, and I always try and tell them, don't fight on the way to the photo shoot. Like, just be chill. Like, I will handle it when you get here. Don't come pissed off. And I learned that from Allison Tyler Jones. But But yeah,
That's Mia's favorite.
yeah, she's freaking awesome. She's my favorite too. She's my spirit animal.
Your spirit animal.
Yeah.
I love that.
So
Wait,
shout
what
out
does
to
that make her?
ATJ. Yeah. But yeah, so and I just try and engage kids when working with them for their individual. If we're on location for their individual photos, I will if they're really young and they're being kind of difficult, I'll ask them like, hey, where do you want to have your picture made? And I'll take them just by themselves over, and I'll say, oh yeah, oh this is a really good spot, and then so that gives them a little bit of ownership into, you know, they get to have involvement and ownership into kind of how the portrait goes, and usually if they're being difficult, that'll kind of break the ice a little bit, and then they'll give me a little more ground. But
Now, a little bit of background on like where you're located, because I think it's good to know. Like a lot of our photographers are from these little dinky towns,
sure,
with kind of big areas. But Idaho Falls is what 65,000 people, roughly.
Yeah.
Not huge. Very rural, like for the most part. The original studio started in Rexburg,
which is even smaller.
which is like 10. Like what's?
I want to say like maybe 20,000 people, maybe.
But that's like.
But that's
cool.
without
College.
college students.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
college
college
students.
town. So then you've got 30,000 college students.
Okay.
Or
Which
however many
aren't
it is.
spending
But
any money. The other aspect to it, and not to more. It's a huge Mormon community.
sure.
And one of the hardest things about that is that they are very frugal people. Like,
Sure.
it's a hard thing, and I hear that a lot from a lot of photographers in that area talking about. So, I mean, props to you that you've been able to make it successful. But yes, did you have a question?
Craig does. He
Craig
says,
does.
how do you make sure that extended family sessions work? I always have a problem getting everyone back into the viewing room or getting them to
Oh,
order.
there you go. That's a great question.
That is actually a really good question, and I ran into the same problem for years and years. One thing that I've done if I've got extended family, typically people are coming from all over the United States. If we've got like a big family, say like 36 or something like that, most of those people. So my typical process is I'm going to my clients' homes, I'm meeting with them in their homes, taking snapshots of their wall space, and I always tell them we're taking a more kind of interior design approach to their wall portraits.
So this is a pre-session consultation?
Yeah,
kind of
and
thing?
so that's like a local family that it's just like maybe their family of like 8 or whatever. When you get the larger family, they're all coming in from out of state and this, that, and the other, it becomes exponentially more difficult to sell those people. And you know what? People may think this is totally the wrong way to do this or not.
It's all right.
I don't really care because it works for me, but I just do a flat rate I just tell people like, look, you got people coming from all over the place. For families like yours, we just do a flat rate session fee. That includes your main family portrait, any individual breakoffs that you want to do, individual families, individual children, etc. And then you get X amount of images in an online proofing gallery. You can divvy those up however you want to. And if you want to purchase more, if that's not enough, most people end up having to buy more. And then just doing it like that is just, for me, has saved me so much freaking headache of trying to track people down, trying to do online sales, all that crap.
I think it was Brian Welsh the other day was talking about one of the things that he does is he'll get like the parents in and he'll suggest to the parents that they buy like, what do you want to buy for your kids, and then they can upgrade. So like he suggests that they buy like a 16 by 24 for this family, that family, and that family, and then they upgrade. We typically, so as for just a little bit different than what you do, we either have them in for the sales session and do a Zoom with any of the other families or whatnot. I always try to push the family to get to like my happy place as far as sales, but I always tell them, the more you spend, the more like digitals they're going to get for additional, like as bonuses. Sure. So if they spend together as a family, they get those options. Normally extended families really work out to be a pretty lucrative ordeal, but it is a lot of extra work at the shoot. But I always tell people like I'm good with shooting the individual families too, because that's just going to be more sales.
Exactly.
So.
Yep.
But what would you say is your biggest challenge in business right now?
My biggest challenge in business right now is I've been doing this for a long time. I've been doing this for over 10 years, and I've made every mistake that you can possibly make. And I'm just now getting to a point where it's like, oh, it's working. Okay, like we talked about. I'm happy with where I'm at. But now I'm just kind of bored. Now I'm just like, ugh, okay. Creatively, I feel a little bit, worn down. And
maybe you should sell your studio to another photographer.
That's a great idea.
I think that'd be a great idea.
Let's do that.
No, maybe not. At least none of these people that are watching. They're probably like, Sam said it's a terrible idea.
Yeah. So yeah, my biggest challenge is right now is just trying to stay creative and find the things that excite me, and travel excites me. We haven't been able to do as much of that. But also too, like, it's for the first time I've really in my career been able to focus on my family and do family stuff and
well, you were fighting huge battles in the beginning. And I think that, and not to bring like your divorce into this, but I'm sure that had a lot to do with like kind of all that different stuff and whatnot with that extra
There were some
fight.
Tough years, for sure.
There were some tough, let's just leave it at that. But there was something that you just triggered, made me think, one of the things that I thought was funny, and I see this all the time, but we were pulling in last night to the studio, and you're like, oh my gosh, I could shoot there. Like, you're seeing all
you're
these.
Sitting on a gold mine, dude.
Yeah, he's calling it a gold mine, and I'm like, I've never shot a senior picture like around my studio because it's boring.
Oh, man.
But that's like so true. Like, we go to different people's, like, different locations, and like, I'm so bored of Idaho for shooting. Not completely, but we had an opportunity to go to Tahoe recently. We're going to Cabo next month, and so I am with you on that. Like, I love the change, love the different, and it is nice to have some different. Do we have somebody coming in? Dylan, or
I gotcha.
If you want to go get it, I'll just mute you, Mia. I think they might have just went back out. Oh, it was just Amazon. Just kidding. Okay, Santa Claus came. So, what would you say is the hardest thing in, what are the biggest challenges you have with marketing? See you, Dylan.
Hey, you too, man. I'll be totally honest. I don't really market.
Okay.
I don't like social media. I know I need to. I've talked to you about it. Like, I know I need to do it.
Yeah.
But I just don't like it. Like, I don't like to be posting all the time, and I will not do reels. I'm not gonna do a TikTok. I'm not gonna bless all you people that do that. You do a great job, but it's just not me. It's not who I am.
Yeah.
And also
But you do have a YouTube channel.
Yeah, I've got a YouTube channel, and I've made some little travel blogs and some little daily blog type things, and I've dabbled in it, but I've never been super passionate enough about it to like go all in with it. And that's the thing, like, I don't believe in doing something that I'm not like all in, or I'm not super like jazzed about, because then it's gonna come across like in the work.
So you clearly need to find your zone of genius.
My what?
Your zone of genius. You got to find your happy place. Maybe that's traveling.
Yeah,
like doing travel
absolutely.
photography or something.
Yeah,
so
I need to find a Mia, actually.
Everybody needs a Mia. I think we need to figure out how to clone her and sell her on the website. Like, we could just sell the DNA.
Let's do that. I love that idea.
I don't know if that's gonna work out for us. I don't know. Does anybody? Oh yeah. So Mia was just she didn't have anything to say. We're good with it. She just suggested that maybe she should be on a traveling program. She just goes works for other photographers.
That could be lucrative.
That for her doesn't help me any. Does anybody have any questions for Josh? Anybody? Let's make him blush or something.
Oh boy.
Gina loved his idea that he had with the family, like what you do with your family.
Simple
she thought
and
that was
easy.
simple and easy.
Thanks, Gina.
And Gina,
that's it,
my heart
simple.
goes out to you. I
Yes.
didn't realize that she had lost her dad.
Told you.
Huh?
I think I told you.
Well, you might have, but I just saw her post this morning and was like, how did I miss that? So all of our hearts go out to you
Yes.
right now. I'm sure
Absolutely.
you're struggling right now, but what else?
That was
Anybody
kind
have
of
any good
it.
questions? Or
Nobody's even offering for me to come out on a travel program right now.
Yeah, that's because they know that I will send them death threats.
It's like a
via-
traveling nurse. I can just be a traveling studio.
How
Exactly.
about you
manager.
just be a stay put with Sam and Mia? You get to go to Cabo. Are any of these other photographers going to take you to Cabo?
I don't know. We'll find out. Is anybody going to
You
take
shut
me?
up. What would you say is? Did we ask about your biggest challenge right now?
I think so.
Did we? Or are you just trying to get out of it?
Yes, I got Gina.
Gina, you stop it. I will beat her. Okay, what's your? Oh, give us your top book. Like your favorite book ever. You just were talking about one.
Favorite book ever?
Yeah.
So the one that I was telling you about, well, there's a few. I'm listening to Ed Milet's book, a new book right now, The Power of One More. Really,
I like just the thought of that sounds good to me because
Yeah.
I'm never happy with just.
No, you're not.
I always need one more.
yeah, I'm really enjoying it. What was the other one that I told? Now I all of a sudden
Oh,
forgot.
I have it.
Post-it note to the left
I have
of
it
you.
in my Audible.
Other left, right there. Josh recommendation.
The compound effect.
The compound effect. That one really changed both my personal life and also just from a business perspective of just taking little small baby steps on a daily basis to change course, and then instead of trying to make a huge course change, just do little baby steps and just slowly kind of turn that needle in a different direction. Health wise for me, that's been kind of a whole shift, and instead of like going all out and going to the gym like crazy and just being a psycho, and then said like, okay, let's just be a little bit healthier today than we were yesterday, and just kind of take that approach to
Atomic Habits, the habit
stacking.
Habit stacking was good. So Craig Lee says the time management chapter is worth the price. Are we talking about which one?
And compound effect,
Oh,
right?
the compound effect.
Yeah.
Okay, that's always a good thing to work on. Okay, so do you remember in your little journey of, because as you remember when you took over the business, you were on high, you were like, this is the best thing ever, life's great, and then we kind of went through the hard knocks and dropped down, and now you're back to probably a better place than you've ever been.
Sure.
What was the point where do you remember a point where you recognized like, okay, I've got it, and now I know how to make this work?
Yeah, I think it was just before COVID, so it had been like 2019-ish that I was getting to that point, and the things were, all those lessons that had been piling up over the years were really finally starting to sink in, and then going into COVID, having kind of the rug pulled out from under me, which a lot of people did. Learning how to pivot and learning how to kind of reassess and reevaluate what's important in my business, what's not, where can I trim the fat, that kind of thing. COVID year was my lowest sales year I've ever had, but I maintained my income, my personal income. And so I count that as a win. And then following up on the following year, most profitable year I've ever had.
Yeah.
Most take home I've ever had. And so just a lot of those lessons just of being frugal, being smart, not being impulsive, really honing in on personal finance, but also business finance.
Yeah.
And I think that people don't know Dave Ramsey or I'm sure everybody has, but the principles that he teaches are amazing. They're life-changing, and they take a lot of discipline and a lot of work. Yeah. And ultimately, what it boiled down to is every time crap got hard, it was, okay, this is really hard, and I'm just absolutely miserable, and what do I do? Do I jump ship? Do I go work at a bank? Mm-hmm. And every time things got hard and I'd hit a wall, it would say, no, I love my clients. I love what I do. What I'm doing is amazing. It's the back end. It's these things over here that I need to figure out how to tweak and get to, and turn the dials to get things to line up. And And eventually, just like I said, it just was like you beat your head against the wall, and eventually you just have to say, okay, I've got to be disciplined and be self-aware of where you're making mistakes, and just say enough is enough. I got to do things differently, and also find other ways and talk to other people that may see things a little bit differently than you. You can always get coaching. You can always talk to colleagues. Going to conferences is always a great way to see the gaps in what you're doing, and how to improve those. But it's executing on what you're doing, and not just going to a conference and learning about stuff and then coming home and not doing a damn thing about it.
Exactly. So the one thing that I've seen here in talking to you, and in all the times that we've talked, and before I get into that, one of the biggest challenges, and I think one of the biggest struggles I've seen with many photographers, is that financial stability or financial, which is hard. I know a lot of people are like, well, if I'm not even making enough in the business, like how can I be financially stable? But making those financially healthy decisions. And from what you just said, if we really just balled it up into one thing, it really boils down to you finally gaining that financial, like, I want to say health.
Sure.
Making your financial situation a healthier, stronger situation, and understanding and running your business around that. And I think that that's really kind of a big thing, and probably really truly what was the contributing factor to your backup.
Absolutely.
Now, thousands of people would have given up 100 times going through what you went through. There's a lot of photographers that give up constantly.
Sure.
One thing that's really intriguing to me is I've seen so many people in the time of COVID where we had, like you and I, we were talking about it. I had my best year I've ever had during COVID. You had your not best year, but there were a lot of photographers that had their best year, and there were a lot of photographers that were like, felt like they lost everything. What do you think are those? Because we're close enough in geographical and
Sure.
really pretty similar
Culturally.
Culturally and also just economically.
Yeah.
Really similar locations. So what do you think that difference was? Do you have any thoughts? Or
For me, I think it was headspace.
that's honestly, that's kind of what I was hoping you would say, because I think that's what it was. It was, I think that, and not saying that you gave up or threw in the towel or anything, but I think that was like, there were a lot of people that made that decision. They were like, you know what, I just got to figure out what I can do. But then they kind of didn't, like, they kind of almost gave up a little bit.
Sure.
Whereas some of us were like, I'm just going to fight like hell because it's what
Yeah.
I've always had to do. And it's not bad either one way or the other. Now I'm seeing like what I think are the effects of COVID this year, but you're still having a great year this year.
Yeah.
Which we had a great year following the year after COVID as well. So it's kind of like, I don't know. And it's just kind of an interesting.
Yeah, it's hard to
study,
pinpoint too, and because we're all different, we're all unique, and we're all experiencing, and we're all in different markets, and we're all experiencing the economy and different things in different ways, and so it's hard to really like pinpoint, exactly, what it's one way or the other. I think ultimately, for me, it always boils down to self-awareness and being able to look at yourself as objectively as possible, and also be honest with yourself, because a lot of times we don't want to admit like when we're not doing the things that we should do, you know what I mean? Like, but to be able to like be honest with yourself and be like, hey, like, okay, frickin', did I use my time wisely today? No, I didn't. Am I going to do better tomorrow? Okay, yes, let's do better tomorrow. And I think that just our personalities and who we are and our different life experiences all kind of coalesce into how we view the world and how we experience the world, and ultimately we just have to do our best and be honest with ourselves and move forward and choose to move forward.
Yeah. I have a Mia that's honest with me. She just tells me, you're really sucking.
Yeah, but you don't really like it all the time when I'm honest
I don't like it when she tells me, but she tells me often. Okay, we got a couple of questions here. Annie says, you said you were known for your posing. Where or who did you study or draw inspiration from to learn posing teens?
Fashion magazines. Early on in my career, I shot more editorial kind of fashion style, and really, I mean, a lot of it is just a lot of freaking trial and error. Like, I mean, School of Hard Knocks is I got my degree in and doing things the hard way, and just in my experience, I found that if I could show them what it was that I wanted them to do, and I could also and people might think this is crazy, but practice in front of the mirror and see what, even as a man, practice feminine poses, see how that changes the look of your body, and see, okay, is that more flattering to me? Is that not?
I just pictured you practicing.
I know, I'm kind of doing it in the chair right here.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm like,
I know
it
it sounds super crazy, but for my clients, it's been really helpful, and just trial and error, see a pose and just recreate it. David Beckham is amazing with posing.
Yeah, actually, Tim Goat said.
Yeah, he suggested
David Beckham is the master at posing girls. You know who was really amazing this year as well at Sync? You weren't there, but of course,
the guy that had the girl up on the thing.
Yeah, the guy that had the girl up on the thing.
Yeah,
I don't know what the hell you're talking.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Frick, Craig Stidham.
Oh yeah, he's great at posing as well.
He's incredible at posing, and that's one Annie was there, but you should know that. But David is incredible at posing girls, like blows my mind.
Michael and Malia too. I like a lot of
Michael
theirs.
and Malia are great. So how much of your skill or posing or any of that did you glean from Travis, or was it did you work with him for very long before?
Not very long. It was
kind of out.
Yeah, it was maybe 8 months.
Oh, okay. So yeah,
it was. But I mean, I ultimately I went into that whole situation, and I said, okay, I can either keep doing what I'm doing and be on my own, and being a direct competitor with him, or I can do this thing with him and learn as much as I possibly can, and then see what happens. And ultimately, I thought, either way, whether I crash and burn or I don't, I'm gonna learn something, and I've always chose the path of learning over the path of least resistance, and I learned a lot from the experience and from him, and I owe a lot of credit of my knowledge from everything that I went through. So
I always say that hard knocks are kind of the best education you can get.
Sure.
Like, failure is great. It sucks. Nobody wants to do it, but honestly, it's great.
You got to be comfortable with failing, especially if you're going to be an entrepreneur, and especially if you're going to be a photographer.
Yeah.
Like you've got to get comfortable with falling flat on your face.
Yeah.
And learning how to pick yourself up and move forward. And like I said, it's like every time you hit a wall, it's like you ask yourself, bank or keep doing what I'm doing and what I love, and working with amazing people, and making people feel awesome.
Yeah. Gina says staying ready and not making rash decisions out of fear, and I think that's really a powerful thing, because how often do we make decisions just based on fear? How often are we stricken with fear in this business and industry? I think as photographers, there's so many of us that have imposter syndrome and do really just fear a lot of things, fear so much. So thank you for that. Do we have any other questions on here that are
No, not really.
nothing specific? Do you have any
gotta watch his time.
good advice? Yeah, I think we're about ready to. Any good advice you want to leave for everybody? Just
care about your clients. Go reconnect with your clients that you haven't worked with in a while. This year has been really big for me. Reach out to them. Just say, hey, I haven't worked with you in a while. You ready for your next family portrait? Keep yourself, kind of in the forefront of their minds, especially those big clients that have families that are kids are growing up a little more, and ask them if there's anything that you can do for them, and just kind of
Do you have a specific VIP list? Like, have you read Pumpkin Plan?
It's all up here. I've started Pumpkin Plan, but I haven't finished it yet.
You gotta finish it.
I know, I need to. It's
so
it's been on my list for a long time.
So that's actually a really powerful. I had actually a new coaching client. She called me up. I met her years and years ago. She just called me out of the blue and she's like, "Hey, I need a pep talk and I need to make $10,000 like really quick." And I was like, "Okay, what can we do?" And so that was the first thing I said. I said, "Go back to all your best clients you've ever had that you've worked with, and make a list of them and reach out to them and say, 'Hey, do you need family pictures? Do you need this?'" And she booked like, I think it was 6 or 10 sessions like within like overnight.
Oh yeah.
Just doing that. And so really powerful thing. Like that's one thing that we talk about a lot is just having that VIP list. And literally like in 17 hats, you can do it because you can tag, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we have in ours, we just go through and I look at it and one of the things you'll learn in Pumpkin Plan is am I happy working with them? Sure. And do they fulfill my need, but do they spend enough? So it's not necessarily all about spending. It's not necessarily all about being the happiest client. Because I've had some clients that I absolutely love, but they just don't spend crap.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, they don't quite fit there. But then there's some that don't spend like a ton, but they really fulfill me.
Right.
And so those are some of my VIP clients. And I go through and I just tag them. And then that way I can literally just change the filter and look at all my VIP clients. And all their numbers and information is right there, and we can jump in and just go at it. So that's a great bit of advice. Honestly, I think people forget that so much.
Sure.
We even suck at it.
Easier to connect or bring an existing client back than to get a new client.
Right? Exactly. And they already know that you're expensive. They already know all that stuff. They already know everything. And how often do you call them? They're like, "You know what? I've been meaning to call you."
Yep.
And so, like, no better way. It's super easy to. I mean, it's not super easy. You got to pick up the phone. You got to do a little bit of work. But any last thoughts? I guess that was kind of your last thought, but
yeah, no. I thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for the hospitality, and
it's good to have you down here. And,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. So, okay, well, that's pretty much. Oh, we just went to you. That's pretty much all we've got for you guys today. If we have any last minute questions, Mia, do we have anything?
Nope, I think we're
there?
good. I just put up there my favorite quote was, "I've always chosen the path of learning over the path of least resistance." I think that's pretty powerful.
That is really good. There's your
nugget.
There's your nugget.
You're welcome
for the day.
Take it to the bank.
Take it to the bank. Cash it in. And it looks like So Good They Can't Ignore You took the cake on
It really did, yeah.
Nick's book of the month. So we will get that on the website. So you have a link. You can go buy it on Amazon. And we'll make it a little bit more of a formal announcement on that. But again, Josh, thank you so much for being with us today.
My
Everybody
pleasure.
else, thank you guys for hanging out with us. And I guess that's about it.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
We're going to call it a day. So everybody have a wonderful day, and we will see you again next Monday. You did awesome. It's nice to just have something different from the norm.
Mia, if I forward you something, would you mind printing it for me?
Yeah, no problem.